Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dramasology podcast. Last week in my Watchlist Digest, I covered Resident Playbook as one of the dramas that I really wanted to watch. It has yet about 6 episodes of the 12 it has, and I had not watched it as of last week, but I have since caught up to it and I am up to date currently, and I have a lot to say about this drama. For those who don't know, just to give a quick synopsis, this drama basically follows a bunch of OBGYN residents in the UJ Medical Center. If you've watched Hospital Playlist, you might recall that UJ Medical Center is the same hospital like conglomerate that also employs the doctors of Hospital Playlist. So, they're in a different branch, I believe, but still that same parent company. So that's kind of how they tie into this Hospital Playlist world, right? So they are in the same world, right? Just in different branches. And so far I've seen maybe three people guest star in this that I recall from Hospital Playlist, and that's just like the main actors. I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of supporting characters as well that I recall seeing. So, this had me hyped. Like, I was really looking forward to this, but I really wanted to wait a little bit. I just couldn't because I was getting spoiled about everything. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch it and just like get up to date so that I'm not spoiled on like TikTok, right? And unfortunately, I have to say that this is a pass for me. I am actually quite disappointed. Usually, I want to give the benefit of the doubt because I just see more of what I like in dramas than what I don't, and so I focus on that. Maybe because I have watched Hospital Playlist, these dramas characters are a little difficult for me to wrap my head around, right? um to an extent, the characters in Hospital Playlist are already professors, so they've kind of gone through life past this level, right? They've experienced all this already. They kind of experienced that all these residents are going through. They've kind of had the same experience in their own fields. Granted, OBGYN is a more like precarious emergency field, other than ER, I would say, right? Still, this is something they've hashed out as young residents, and they are now professors, they are now seasoned, so we don't see a lot of like their previously terrible character as we do here in Resident Playbook. But for me, I think when I was watching the first episode or two, like, I knew that because they were residents, they are kind of still developing as people. I get the sense of like character development. That is something that I know will happen. But honestly, I haven't watched episode 6 now. We're already halfway through. I'll just say that honestly, I just don't like these residents. Right? Like, I just don't like them as like people, maybe. And that is kind of throwing me off in this whole story. And I don't know why, or if it was written like this on purpose, but I will say, I mean, it's the same writer as Hospital Playlist. It's just like maybe a different director. But I find I have no issue with the directing. It's really just like the writing of this. Is that kind of is throwing me off. Again, when I first watched the first few episodes, I obviously know that our characters are not going to like just like love this work immediately. But honestly, to an extent, I'm not sure these people want to be doctors. And okay, I shouldn't say like all of them. Like, for example, the only male character in this, JL, right? He is overly enthusiastic, which is fine. He does want to be a doctor, and it shows, right? But I think that for the most part, the female characters, and really I shouldn't say the female characters, it's just really Young I have an issue with here. Young as the main lead, like as a female lead, the protagonist, whatever you would call it, like the one we are focusing on and following the journey and trying to like empathize with, I find her very, very, very annoying. I find her very, very irritating. And it's something that like the first episode is fine, the second episode is fine, but by like the fifth episode, the sixth episode, and she's still not developing, or she's very developing at like a very slow pace that I can't really see a difference, I have a problem. So again, at the beginning, she is reluctant to go back and work as a resident in this like hospital, right? Clearly she doesn't like it. I guess she matched. I don't know how it works in South Korea. Maybe she matched to OBGYN, but that's not necessarily what she wanted. But I mean, they don't hint that she wanted something different. So I assume this is what she, chose for herself as well. And when she, has to go into the hospital, she's so reluctant because, they don't really explain kind of why she's reluctant. She just wants to quit all the time, right? They don't really explain what is driving her reason for acting this way, for acting nonchalant, for, just looking bored all the time. We just kind of have to like take it that that's how she is, right? There's no trauma. No one like insulted her in this like hospital. She just has this personality and we don't know why. And I think that for me is what makes it difficult for me to relate to her, because I don't know where she's coming from, right? And that's fine. Like if I don't know where someone's coming from, it's okay. So far I know like they're going to develop as a character. We are in episode 6 now and she's still about the same, right? She makes so many mistakes. She's never paying attention. I think the scene that really pissed me off was two scenes actually that really pissed me off about her character. The first one was when they are in the operating room, and she is with her brother-in-law, right, who is also a doctor, and she mistakenly cuts him because I don't know what she's doing. Like maybe she's not paying attention and everything. That was the first thing that was like, I feel like I can chalk that up to the fact that she's just not in there the way the rest of them are, right? And to an extent, her like colleagues, especially like Kim Sabi, the one that's like overly proper and probably on the spectrum, most likely, right? She can see this and she doesn't understand, why it's someone like this that is getting opportunities, and because it seems like she doesn't care. And I understand that like feeling, right? So that's the first thing that really pissed me off. But the one that really like drove it home for me was the scene with the intern where she's yelling at the intern, right? And she yells at him and her brother-in-law sees this and tries to correct her, right? And she's still talking back. Like I feel like people give her way too much grace in this drama. Like the other characters give her too much grace. And it would make a little sense if she was like an extremely good like resident, but honestly she's very mid. She doesn't pay attention. She was sleeping when that doctor from Hospital Playlist was cameoing, she was like, it's just like I don't understand what they want us to feel about this girl, right? And it's one of those things where okay, after like the first episode or the second episode where she gave birth to that baby in the hallway, I'm like, okay, maybe there's a little bit more to this. And they try to hint at that like okay, maybe she's going to like grow a little, and she starts running to the hospital now because the idea is that she's a little excited, but when she gets to the hospital it's still the same behavior she shows, right? And I just don't understand how I'm supposed to take it, right? If they gave me a reason to like why she acts the way she acts, like I get it, she has trauma, but still like there's just something about it that is not given the way it should give. I would have liked to see a resident that was kind of a lot like Chuminha, right? Who, I mean, she guest stars in this as well because she's now married, right? I would have liked to see that kind of character because I remember in Hospital Playlist, she did everything. She cared so much, and even if her other residents were not up to par, she would try and do whatever to make sure everything works out, right? And I remember, I mean, she had maybe just a few scenes, but I remember feeling for her so much because you could tell that she loved this job, and even though it was tiring and everything, that this is something that she really wanted to do. That's kind of what I expected her character to be, right? The female lead Oye Young in Resident Playbook. But in this, she's not particularly caring, and it's interesting because she's also in a field that you have no choice but to be caring, because it's like you're giving birth to babies, you're taking care of women that have cancer. It's a very like field that you would think she would care about because she's also a woman, maybe, but still, like, she comes off as very, very like, I just don't give an F. Like, she, and I mean, they all do to an extent. Well, not all of them. The male doctor does not, or the male resident, I should say, does not. And neither does Pyo Namgyong. And just to talk about Namgyong for a little bit, I think her character is the one I would have expected, or should I say her character act is the one I would have expected for Oye Young, in that at the beginning she's very like senseless. Like, she, wants to go out, she says things and she doesn't mean it, she's stressed easily, right? Like, she's very, like, seemingly very simple, right, in how she thinks, right? But as we see, as she, like, experiences more things and has a, like, arc with different patients, you see how it affects her and how she comes to care more, right? And so I am able to kind of, like, relate to her in a way because her arc makes sense. I feel like Young still isn't having that, right? Yeah, there's, like, that one where the daughter is, possibly having, like, ovarian cancer or something like that, right? And they have to check if she has, if that's the case, in surgery, right? And the mom, has been crying for, like, days and days, and she cries all the time. And Young, had that moment where she, felt for them. But again, the minute that ends, a character, like, comes again, like, and it's like she's not developing in the way that I would have liked, right, as opposed to the other characters. I will say that Kim Sabi is the only other one that's, like, I mean, she's getting there, and I can kind of see her progression a little better. She has moments with patients, or she's starting to have moments with patients where it's like, okay, yeah, she's, like, not able to, like, give them that comfort, right? Because I was like, the professor says that she's definitely a T, right? But still she's able to, like, find a way, right? And you can see too, like, she cares about this still. I feel like Young just does not care. Even after everything, she's still saying she's going to, like, quit. When that doctor, tells her or allows her to do the last suture, and she's like, no, no, thank you. That's what I'm like, why? Like, why is she acting this way? And I just can't figure out her character, and that's the problem. So episode 6, or I'll say episode 5, was, like, episode that really, really, like, pissed me off, and episode 6 really drove it home why I just don't like her as a character, and it's really sad. um I will say that, like, there are some moments where I'm glad she's like that. For example, she has this other, like, doctor, Myung Won, right, who is always just getting on her nerves. She talks to her like she's a kid, and she's very condescending. Like, I can't stand that girl's face. But I'm glad that Young is such an unfeeling person that, like, that doctor does not get to her at all, right? So that's the only thing I'll say that, like, a character, like, makes me happy for. I have no, now when it comes to the romance, I have no interest whatsoever in the way that, like, I had a bunch, like, I had overflow of interest in hospital playlists for different couples. In this, I'm like, I kind of don't want, like, it's not important in this. Like, he spoke up for her once and she immediately fell in love. I don't see it. I don't think it's necessary. And I kind of don't want it. So yeah, I will say that the story in this isn't as good. Like, it doesn't hit the feels, kind of, like, and I don't know why that is. I have to assume it's because it's not the same director. Like, that has to be the missing piece, right? There must have been more to what the director was doing when, like, hospital playlist, or how hospital playlist was written and shot. So yeah, that's the thing I can think about, because otherwise, like, I just don't I don't know what it is. Or maybe there's another, like, screenwriter that's missing in this one, right? Let me see. Let me just check real quick. Yep, there is. Oh, yes, there is. Yes, this is it. This is where it comes into play. So, like, there's another writer that she's the one that wrote reply series, hospital playlists. She's not in this. That's the missing piece, I think, between that and also, like, the director who also directed reply series and hospital playlist. That's what it is. Because I'm like, there's just something about this. It's not complete, and now I know why, right? It's only one of the writers from hospital playlist that is in this. That's the main writer for this, but it's a different director, and the other, like, writer for hospital playlist is not here. So yeah, you can consider it like the child story, or I don't know what you call it, sequel to hospital playlist. But I would say that it's not really right. But yeah, that's really all I have. I'm really sorry if anyone, like, really liked this drama and find that I am just talking terrible about it. I do like a lot of things about it. For example, I like all the professors in this. They are really, really awesome, right? Even the ones that are, like, somewhat yearly, right? They are very, very good. Like, they have a kind of air of what I like, right? So I like the female professors, the male professors, most of the nurses, most of the other like residents, they're all very, very good. And to an extent, like I do like all the characters. It's just like it's kind of frustrating because I don't know. I was just expecting something different. And I do hope that maybe in future that like the screenwriter and the producer of the Reply series and Austin's Playlist can like make something new that I can enjoy, because yeah, this is this is at best like a 6 out of 10, right? Sorry if anyone really likes it and like I am raining on their parade. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's really all I have to say in this episode. I will finish this drama because I've already started, but and I hope to God that I get some better character development as time goes on. But yeah, that's all I have to say. That's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I will see you guys again next week. Have a lovely one. Bye.